Oh my god, I counted that perfectly.
We're live.
We're
Oh my
live.
god. Isn't this crazy?
Okay, hi. Welcome back to Hot Heads. I'm your favorite host, Teodora, joined with...
Your least favorite host, Jack.
No one said you're the least favorite. It's just that there's two
You're
of us
implying
and
that
I may
I'm
be
the
the favorite.
second now? Well, I mean, if I'm the second, then I have to technically also be on the de facto least as well.
Well, who knows? Maybe you could be the second best.
Is there like another host? Is there a third host that we don't know about? The third
James.
microphone doesn't even work. James is comedic relief, but just for us.
I think James is my favorite host.
Oh boy.
Okay, so this week I think we have a really fun show planned, mostly just because this is all about us.
Well, I don't know if it's all about us. That's a big lofty statement.
It's a big statement there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think what am I saying? I think what we're doing today for the show, we're going to go through the list of people that we think are going to run in the 2024 elections. So both on the Republican and on the Democrat side, we have some wild ones put in there.
I have quite a few wild ones.
I think one wild one.
Oh, I have like 4 wild ones. I also threw in 2 third-party options, which I honestly don't think are going to run. But
really?
I don't think they're going to run, but I think that there is some little...
You don't think any third party is going to run, or you just
not the ones that I listed.
Okay.
The ones that I listed are more or less ones that I would love to run because I think it would be a good sight to see. Mm-hmm. But I don't think they're going to run. I don't think, like, I've been looking into it because I know, a good marker of if someone's going to run for office is whether they release a book.
Yeah.
And the third party candidates usually kind of just do their own thing. But I mean, some of my even pie in the sky people, I'm like, all right, who's releasing a book? What do we got going on here? Who are we going to see?
Yeah, book releases, people that are doing outrageous things to end up in the media. I feel like that's
the big one.
That's the big one. It's like they're just trying to put their name out as much as possible. I feel like we just do need to address the light situation today. It is so cute.
Yeah, whoever did this, we don't know who was in the booth earlier today who did this, but whoever came up with this decision,
it's so on brand for like what we're talking about.
For what we're talking about, but we also are very thankful because we're never going to be able to get it to be like this.
No, again. Yeah, I wouldn't even be able to tell you how they did this, but I think it's so dope. I don't know, it's fun. I don't even know how to do this in my own room. Anyway. So we're gonna start. So we each listed 5 for each party, and then Jack took it upon himself to list 5 and 5, and then 5 additional ones.
No. Okay, I have 22 listed.
Are you kidding? I thought
10
we agreed
for
on
each
5
party,
and
then 10, and then 2 additional.
Okay, whatever.
So to be fair, I think I might have gone overboard, but I also knew that you and I were probably gonna pick the same ones.
You think so? I was trying not to.
Well, honestly, I think I have a better roundup. I think I came up with the better list. I also think the ridiculous ones that I put on here, which are not too far-fetched. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, the dude with the boot on his head, like he's going to run for president again. No, it's not like that. It's like, I think, I have some good options here.
I was as realistic as possible. Yeah. And some of my reasons were very firm reasons. Some of my reasons were very much just because I was like, I just know this person's just going to run. Like, I feel like we would all just be able to say the name and be like, yeah.
Well, there's some people that you just had, like, it's kind of like one of those things where the moment that you look at some of it, you're just like, oh yeah, like this is totally a person who's going to run. And before we start naming names, I think we should go into that before we start dancing around the topic too much. So do you want to start off with your list?
Yeah.
Are you starting with Republicans or
This
Democrats?
is the thing I was going to ask. Should we start off with the Dems or with the Republicans? Because I feel like with the Dems, it's like since they're already in office, we should probably start with the Republicans.
Yeah, let's start with Republicans. Yeah.
All right. So number 1 on my list. I did not put Trump on my list just because he already said he was gonna.
Oh, I put him on my list. Okay, so
I didn't just because I was like, he already announced that he's gonna do it, so that would just take away from the whole game. Which like we already know he's running, but so the number 1 on my list that I put was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
That's a good choice.
And I feel like it's just definite that he's gonna be running. I feel like the only reason why he hasn't announced it yet is because he just won his election. So I feel like he's 100% going to be running. He was one of the biggest winners from, if not the biggest winner from the Grand Old Party, from this election day. So it's like he just had like that very big win. He defeated the Democrat candidate by, what was it, like nearly 20 points. Yeah. He won the Latino vote. So I feel like he has that type of momentum right now. So it would just be a good time for him to declare. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he would. And also early polls that were being done were showing that DeSantis was within 9 points of Trump. In a one-on-one poll, so it's like the two of them. So it's like they're very close right now in polls, and I feel like
is Trump winning in those polls, or is DeSantis winning?
Trump is winning still, but it's also very early on, and I feel like that's just going to change as we get more into it. And honestly, I feel like Trump's poll is really going downward, particularly like after the loss of the election. He still has a very strong hold over the Republican Party, but I feel like his is definitely going in like a little downward angle. Like his poll isn't staying as strong as it used to be. And I think that there's a few people that I put on my list. Actually, I think everyone that I put on my list are all people that have just kind of turned to, I feel like all the Republicans that would end up running are people that are right now trying to turn away from Trumpism.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be the pinnacle, is like the people who are pro-Trump are not going to be running in this race. Like the people, even if they endorsed him the last go round, I don't necessarily think that even means that they're going to
for sure
run or not run personally.
For sure. And then also with DeSantis, he's been in the media so much. I feel like at this point, like
he would be wasting good publicity to not run right now.
I feel like yes, but I also feel like the reason why he's even doing this publicity is to set up a presidential run. That's why I feel like, because there's a rhyme and reason behind everything. Like nothing is done accidentally, especially in the world of politics. Everything is done with a reason.
Yeah.
So there's never going to be something where it's like, oh, he just happened to get press. Because honestly, a lot of politicians say good press or bad press is still press.
But the press that he has is never, when it's bad, it's always bad catered towards one side. Like if you look at it, like it's not like his press is bad, like, you know,
like
he's having
Trump
an affair.
Era Trump era press.
Yeah, it's very much just you can clearly, there's a clear red-blue divide where it's like, if a Republican reads this, they're gonna be like, wow, this is my guy, I want him to run. But if a Democrat reads this, they're like, oh my God, this is a problem. This isn't gonna go well for Joe Biden when he runs.
Exactly. So it's like, it's not like super bad yet. I feel like, you know, there's always room for
keep your rundown going. Keep your rundown.
Oh, you want me to
yeah, let's not do the DeSantis party. Well, honestly,
I'm not doing a DeSantis party. Those are just
I know
3
you love
points
DeSantis.
I do not like DeSantis.
I mean, I didn't know that
are we going one after the other?
I can. I'll do my number one. Okay. My number one is it's kind of a duh moment. It's Donald Trump. I didn't know that we were going to choose Donald Trump. I didn't know that he was like getting excommunicated from this conversation.
I just excommunicated him. You
which is
can do whatever you
want, because he already announced. But I mean, like, I chose Donald Trump as number one because it's kind of like he's been saying it, like, I'm going to run. He is running.
So you took the approach of like realistic people that will definitely be running. I took the approach of who I think would definitely.
Oh, no. Well, I also was like, Donald Trump is like, if you had asked me before he announced, I was like, yeah, like it's just a matter of time before he like pops out and it's just like, hey guys, I'm running.
Yeah. All right, so go on with your spiel.
Yeah, Donald Trump, that's gonna happen. Do you want me to start off on my number two?
Oh,
I think my number. You go next for your number two. Who's your number two?
Okay, I think I'm gonna do. Okay, I'll do my number two. I'll skip to my number three actually.
Whoa!
No, just because I didn't put mine in like a particular order.
Okay.
But okay, I feel like, hear me out. This might be a little bit on like the side of maybe not his time yet. Mike Pence. I feel like he might announce that he's running. I feel like the only huge con to him, I feel like it's just not the time for him right now to run, just because he would need to wait a little bit more for the GOP to break away from Trump, because he was very much involved in Trump era politics, and the people that support Trump will not like Pence, because the one thing that Pence didn't do was stop the transition of power. So I feel like the people on that side wouldn't really like it. So he would just need to wait until those supporters are a little bit more leaning away from Trump. And so I feel like if that were to happen within like the next year, I feel like he'd be set to run. But if that doesn't happen, I don't think he would run now. But the reason why I think he would run, I think he's in a decent position in that he was one of the main reasons why you had a lot of like pro-lifers, I feel like, happening. And then now with what happened with the whole decision this summer, and the whole overturning of Roe v. Wade. I feel like it's like people look at it as like a Trump era win, but it was that whole like the whole idea of like pro-life and abortion stance on their side was heavily like done by Pence. So I feel like in that sense, it's like, okay, he had that type of win for the Republicans. And then on top of that, the Democrats and the January 6th committee are painting him out to be such a good guy for as far as how the January 6th went down. He recently just now started opening up about Trump's shortcomings given January 6th. He's been very silent on this, but he just recently started talking about it very little bit. I don't know if he wrote a book. So he wrote a book.
Ooh, this is checking saying. The boxes
yeah.
off.
Yeah. He wrote a book and he's starting to very slowly just be like, yeah, like he kind of like threw me and my family under the bus. Like, you know, he was saying that. So it's very minimal, like bad stuff that he's saying, but he's starting to do it now. I think he's literally just trying to wait and see like what type of water he's in with the people that really support Trump. And I think that will end up being the call that he makes. But the January 6th committee and the Democrats are making him look really good for like what he did that day on January 6th and like how he continued working from like it was like the secret rooms in the Capitol and like trying to help and like
listen, I just want to say I love how they're like goosing this up, you know, like this was like some covert operation that was going on about how like while they were storming the Bastille, there was politicians at work trying to prevent a coup d'etat from occurring by some guy in a Viking helmet. Right, like you know,
it was dangerous, and they were probably very scared at the time.
I'm sure they were very, very scared because you know what?
But you know what? The American people are scared too. So maybe put that fear into action.
maybe let's do something about it. It's very, you know,
and maybe this is what they're doing. So I honestly feel like the January 6th committee and some of the Democrats kind of paved the way to make him look good to very moderate leaning Democrats.
I'm sure I haven't heard Liz Cheney speak recently, mainly because my ears would start bleeding. But I'm sure that Liz Cheney was out there.
I may be mentioning Liz.
Going pro Mike. I'm sure she was out. If you do what I think you're gonna do with Liz Cheney, and oh my goodness, this is you might actually. You go. You
go. Okay. Yeah, that's my spiel on Mike. So you can go on.
Yeah, so I didn't put Mike Pence down for my number 2. I actually put down Nikki Haley.
Okay, I knew you were gonna go here.
Yeah,
okay.
First of all, I think that there is definitely, although the Republican Party is fractured, as is the Democrat Party, like both are incredibly fractured right now. There is no strong push. There's not a lot of central leadership. They're both going through a lot of different changes right now. I mean, Mitch McConnell is still the preemptive head of the Republican Party in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of division between him and they just who they just put as speaker. I forget his name.
Jeffries. Yes.
Jim Jeffries or something.
Jeffries. I forgot his first name, but his last name was 100% Jeffries.
But whoever the speaker of the House is now for the Republican Party, I know that there's been a lot of issues with him in the past, that he's a yes man, that there's not a lot of policy surrounding him. So I personally think that there has to be a transition, especially on the campaign trail for this position, by someone like Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley worked for Trump. She's a former North Carolina or South Carolina governor, either governor or senator. I actually forget, but she was she represented a state. She had a lot of influence and also helped Donald Trump get elected. And she also helped with Donald Trump's foreign policy. She was very much involved in the UN. I think she was one of our ambassadors, or she did something with the UN.
Yeah, she was former United States ambassador.
Yeah, she's done a lot internationally, which is something that's a very big weak point for a lot of the other candidates that are expected, right? Like Donald Trump is the only one that has any experience in foreign policy. I mean, Ron DeSantis, not a lot of foreign policy experience, and that'll be something that'll definitely hit him on the campaign trail, at least, especially right now with what's going on between China and the trade wars that we're dealing with, all the issues going on between Russia and Ukraine, and also possible fracturing of NATO over the current, gas issues and oil problems that are going on in Eastern Europe right now, and most of Europe too. So I think Nikki Haley is going to be a very good decision. On top of it too, she's got a lot of cover. Yes, she worked under the Trump administration, but she's been very vocally anti-Trump since everything that's happened. And she's also, from some pictures that I saw, she was pretty active in the Georgia Senate race, especially with backing the Republican candidate down there. So, I mean, if she's going out there making campaign stops, clearly she's got some weight behind her name, and she's trying to remind Georgia voters, which you and I are now kind of in agreement. Georgia's a bit of a swing state.
Yeah.
That she exists. She was a candidate, and she's got their back. And I think that could really play well for her, especially in the future. It's getting her name out there. So I think even before I think Nikki Haley's going to run. I think she's going to make a go of it. I'm still not convinced about Pence. We can get back to that later, but I'd love to hear your third option.
Before we get to the only thing about Haley that I feel like might not, like, she's just been super, super quiet recently. Yeah. So that's why I feel like I just don't. Same thing with Pence. It's like you don't know where they stand. So it's like there's like a little bit with her. It's like they might not. But also the thing about her, like, I don't know how much Georgia is going to impact her chance, like her ability to run, if that makes sense, because it's going into a runoff, right? So it's like, yeah, she was helping out with like Georgia and like Herschel Walker and stuff, but what happens like when, like, if it's a loss,
right? Or if it's a win, I think either way, if it's a win, it boosts her even more. But even if it's a loss, she's gotten out there to go to his base and Herschel Walker's base, so now she's known within Georgia. And on top of it too, she has a very neutral look to her, despite her like kind of absence from some amount of public life.
Mm-hmm.
I think either way it could play well for her. Obviously, if Herschel Walker wins, it plays even better for her, because then she's got a friend in the Senate, and on top of all of these things, she's tying her name to a successful campaign, which also, even if Herschel Walker loses, that campaign gets forgotten pretty quickly. Let's not lie about it. That she might get hit once or twice over not even debates, but just in the news or the press about how she backed Herschel Walker, a very questionable candidate by some people's standards. And
some people's
it's gonna put her, it could put her in hot water, but I don't think it's gonna affect her as much. It'll definitely affect her more if he wins.
All right. So my next candidate, I feel like strong possibility that he might get into it. Also, someone who has openly criticized Trump recently. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. I'm so bad at pronouncing his last name. I can't pronounce
their last name either.
Neither can I. So it makes me feel really bad. But he won really big in this election. So I think I wrote down he won by 15 points. While the GOP candidate for his state lost.
Yeah.
For in the Senate race. So he still has a very strong hold in his state. And also he was telling the Washington Post that like he's considering running. So I kind of take that as like he didn't say that. He said he's open to everything. That's his exact quote.
What a blanket statement.
So I feel like when people kind of say that type of stuff, definitely like on, they're definitely thinking about it, on the verge of it. I think the only con to him is the fact that his name is not out there as much as like
but that's easy.
Obviously that's fine. Easy. He could get there. What is it, 2022 right now? So it's like he's got the time to like get into like all the press and stuff, but I think he would probably be like a decent candidate to do what needs to be done to beat out Trump, if that makes sense. And then also on top of that, like he has the pull for it, and he like his stats from like election day. I love how I'm saying stats.
Yeah.
But like his stats
like
from
it's like he's a baseball player. Or he's playing basketball now. His stats are amazing. They're immaculate. He could win Politician of the Year. The MVP, if you will. Most Valuable Politician Award.
That's good. That's a good one. All right, let's go to your third.
All right, so my third, we've already spoken about him. Ron DeSantis, a new Florida man in charge. I do believe he's going to run. I think he will be one. I think he's not going to announce for a little bit. I don't think he's going to announce until 2023 comes around the corner. And I think part of that is, and a lot of people's reason for not doing that is, one, they're going to wait till that runoff race goes in Georgia. That's going to depict the tone that they go with and the approach that they take. And also, if you're a smart politician and you're being savvy about it, you're going to get all of your ducks in order. You're going to get everything aligned, and you're going to wait for Donald Trump to slowly paddle himself away. Now, the big thing about Donald is I think he announced too soon. I think that was the bad decision. I think his better opportunity should have been to wait for Georgia, because now on top of it too, it puts it in a position where some people might look at it and be like, well, if we lose Georgia, at least we've got the Don running, so we're going to get saved somehow. And I think by not doing that, maybe having him work the campaign trail a little bit more, it could have drummed up more voters. But on top of it too, it gives him so much room for now. He has to start campaigning. He has to start working around all these schedules and stuff. And on top of it, it leaves him a lot of room to start taking shots and start getting hit on issues and statements that he's making. Yeah, he's Teflon Don at the end of the day. And I don't doubt that he's, whatever he says, whether it's on Twitter now or whatever app he's involved in, it still can come back and bite him. And I think the problem is he's letting himself out there for just a little too long to sit out there, even though now he's the prospective front runner because he's the only one running.
Yeah.
I think Ron DeSantis is probably gonna announce sometime, probably in the new year, maybe around like the 5th.
Oh wow! If you get it exactly on the date,
yeah.
At what time?
Honestly, no, I don't actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if he'll announce early in January because of the January 6 shenanigans. I think there's a very good possibility that he will actually wait, and if he's smart, he might wait until after January 6 is all well and good, so that way during that news rotation, all they're doing is running stuff about Trump. And they're just taking that hit, rallying the troops up.
That's good.
And that's Ron, what you're doing.
If you're watching this,
it might be smart to wait around January 18th, right? When you're like right past it, that's when you announce. Or in the heat of January 6th, you throw a few remarks that might get the Dems going and saying, hey, this guy might be better than Joe Biden.
Yeah.
He's really middle of the road. And it can kind of change the perspective of a lot of people about what position he's taking. And it also kind of gauges Trump's strengths now, too, where it's like, can Don live through another round of January 6th flack with, they're still doing investigations going on. We've already lived through one, anniversary of the event, which was pretty widely spoken about. So
that was intense news coverage.
That was a lot of news coverage. That was a busy day for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if Governor DeSantis is smart, he'll probably wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
do you got for your 4th?
So for my 4th, I think this one's gonna be.
Oh boy.
I think this one's really like a give or take, but I think Virginia Governor Youngkin. I think he might run. I don't think he'll be successful, but I think he might put it in. He wasn't elected. He wasn't running this election season.
Yeah.
But he was one of the first to do what the big winners this election did, which was win separately from Trump.
Yeah.
He didn't rely on a Trump endorsement. So I think it was he was one of the first to really do that and establish himself in the Republican Party as someone that's outside of Trump. And that was doing so well this election season, which is why, you can see why Trump's poll is definitely decreasing in the Republican Party. So he kind of paved the way almost for this era Republicans, especially the people that are going to be running against him. So I feel like that's going to be something that Youngkin's going to be like, well, I was the first. So I feel like I could do it.
Yeah.
The only thing I feel like his con is going to be, I honestly think the only reason why he even won in Virginia to begin with was because he was able to pull the votes from the suburban women. And I think that right now, given everything that's going on with abortion, I think he's going to lose that sector of people that did vote for him. So if he had to run now,
keep in mind it's a long race.
It is a long
and there's
race,
a very good chance that a lot of this stuff is going to get swept under the rug when they start talking about crime, the economy, and all these other things. It is important and very relevant thing, but even still, I think if suburban women voted for him before, then there's no reason that they're not going to vote for him.
But this is
later.
what I think now. I think that if he ran this during this election, this last one, if he was running now, I don't think he would have won because of that issue. So I feel like it really just depends on what our politics is like within the next 2 years to decide how much pull he's going to have in the Republican Party.
It's going to be very interesting to see in this race who of the Republican Party is willing to go against the mainstream take that abortion is a negative and start saying, hey, I don't agree with this Supreme Court decision. It's overturning principle, and try to focus on that aspect.
Do you think anyone will?
No, someone probably will in the primary, but not in the general. In the general, even if that person wins the primary, which they won't, because they won't have the religious right backing them, which is who's going to come out to vote. I think that there could be someone who definitely comes out with that position who's just kind of like, this is what I believe. So that way they at least get a good write-in campaign going, or maybe a third party go after it. I mean, it's a possibility.
All right, Slay. Who's your
My fourth is someone that you also already had on. It's the governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu.
Slay.
So I personally think that right now is a good time, and it's definitely it poses an advantage to have somebody from the Northeast running. Now, Maine traditionally votes Republican. Areas of New Hampshire and Connecticut are very conservative. Um, if you have a person who can win a state house in a state like New Hampshire, where you have a split group, where your senators, I think, are both now Democrats, which I think it used to be one Democrat, one Republican. Its neighboring state, Vermont, it's home to Bernie Sanders, and a whole flock of Democrats as well. And I mean, a Republican governor in the Northeast is a very big deal, and it represents that this person's willing to cross the aisle, and I think that could play very, very well, especially when it comes to a vice presidential bid. Now, I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think depending on who is the front runner, he could definitely be an ideal pick for VP, and that'll give him the boost, especially after the 4 years in office, depending on what that person chooses to do, which is probably going to be run for re-election. So in 8 years, that makes him a very, very viable candidate, especially to take up the reins of whatever's just been going on for those 8 years, to take a new approach, and people aren't going to forget what happens in New Hampshire and the position that he plays. And if he's just able to cross those lines and really bring the party together and represent that, then I think he has a lot to offer. I also think that if you can convince Republicans in the Northeast of something, you can pretty much get the whole country to go with you. And if Republicans in the Northeast are a little bit more liberal as it comes to things. So I mean, usually when you get Republicans in the Northeast, a lot of those people are kind of more middle of the road Democrats in other parts of the country. They're not as extreme. They hold a lot more of a neutral value and middle of the road type of tactic. So I think you definitely win a lot of swing voters over, especially in other parts of the country. And that could play really, really well. That could play incredibly well in a vice presidential bid.
That's true. We'll see. We'll see. I think he definitely will have pull.
Oh yeah.
He 100% will.
Yeah.
So for my fifth and final, I was torn between who to put for this, because I was like, this would be like the last one that I'm choosing. So I definitely think it's going to be one of the Texas lawmakers. I feel like it's going to come between Greg Abbott or Ted Cruz. I ended up putting down Ted Cruz. Is that your fifth?
Yeah, that's my fifth. I chose Ted Cruz.
That's so funny. I didn't honestly. I think both of the only reason why I went with Ted Cruz over Abbott was just because I feel like I just feel like and I feel like Cruz, and he's criticized Trump recently because this man went live. I think it was on Fox that he went live right after, and then he was like, it was gonna be a red tsunami, and then they obviously it was a pink ripple, as we called it, and then and then he was like, the reason why was because Trump didn't pay enough. So it's like, I feel like he's definitely going into that whole realm of like criticizing Trump for things now. So I think he's definitely going into that whole area, and I think he wins.
Ted Cruz has ran since like what?
That
2012.
That's why that was another reason.
He's ran in every single election since. He's always scored very middle of the road. I mean, he's not the first one out, and he's usually one of the last candidates to get out of the race. He's got a substantial amount of pull. I mean, I'm just going to even roll into my thing. I mean, I think Ted Cruz is the ideal candidate right there. I don't know necessarily about Greg Abbott. I know Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott can get hit over a lot of things, especially with how the environmental issues are kind of playing out and natural disasters and response have played out. But I mean, Greg Abbott, overall good response to COVID-19, but a lot of people are going to want to move away from the pandemic business.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
It's not going to.
I don't think it's going to have a lot of pull.
Yeah, I mean,
this election.
I think Ted Cruz is honestly the best pick for them. He's a very national.
Think so?
I think it's the most likely pick.
You think so?
I think it's going to be.
I don't think so at all. I think he's 100% going to run, but I don't think he's going to have any pull at all. I feel like he's just one of those where it's like been there, done that, seen you all over.
He's going to attack Donald Trump a lot.
No, he's definitely going to do that. But I honestly think it's going to come down between Trump and DeSantis, and dare I say, I think Trump might even completely fall off of it, and it's going to be all these people that now all outwardly hate Trump all arguing together. So it could be like between like Cruz, Sununu
Chris
and
Christie might come back. Who knows?
who knows?
Who knows? I mean, yeah, no, I do think Ted Cruz is more likely to run compared to Abbott because I think Abbott also recognizes that it is going to be a little bit of a knife fight. This is going to be a very crazy run for them. And I don't think he doubts the fact that it's going to be a dirty race. I don't think many people want to take that perspective or understanding because, I mean, think about it. Like, you got Donald Trump who's getting back in the mix, and he's going to have nicknames for everybody.
When did he leave the mix, though? I feel
but
like
he's not. It's not just that he has a microphone again.
Well, yeah.
And Donald Trump and a microphone, whether the room's empty or not, is a dangerous sight to see. I mean, the guy, he's an expert on just selling something. He's a great showman, and I think if you have this group of people, some people who worked under him, it's going to hit him hard. But I think Ted Cruz, I don't necessarily know if he's going to be he's definitely going to run. But he's definitely going to play. He's definitely going to play to his strengths of going after Donald Trump.
I think it's very interesting that we had very similar ones.
Do you want me to go off my far-fetched ideas?
Do you want to do Dems first, and then we'll do?
Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll leave it as like a bonus.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll do starting with the Dems. First, I think we should answer the question: do we think Biden will be running again? And
yes.
I was gonna say no.
Yeah, I think he's
gonna say no. I think he would like to run again, but I feel like his health and age is probably gonna be the reason why he ends up. I think he's gonna probably start off being like maybe, but I think it's just gonna be like, yeah, nah.
I think he's gonna run again. And if he doesn't run, then Kamala's gonna run.
That was my first.
Yeah.
That was my
so
first
I will say I know we'll go to yours first, but my first is Joe Biden or Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
So I think Joe Biden's gonna run. I think his wife's gonna push him to run, which I've been reading a lot about how she's really the one who's like, you gotta run, Joe. You gotta run again.
Why doesn't Jill run? Maybe Jill would come up with some good ideas.
Maybe she would.
Yeah.
Maybe she probably wouldn't. I don't know. But let's hear your rundown of what's your reason for Joe Biden running or not running. Kamala Harris running.
My thing is, I think if Joe doesn't run, Kamala will run. If Joe runs, Kamala's not running. So it's like you're gonna see that whole debacle
This White
happening.
House will not go away quietly. They are going to be in the news. They want to own the news for another year. It's just a reality.
Yeah. And I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like Harris is going to run. I don't think it would be the most ideal Democratic candidate.
Do you think she wins? Do you think she wins the primary? No. You don't think? I don't think she will either.
I don't think she will. I think that's going to be the downfall. If Biden, for this administration to stay in power, it would have to be through Biden.
Yeah.
I feel like it cannot happen through Harris. Yeah, that's my spiel.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Do you want to do your number 2, or do you want to say?
Yeah, I'll go to my number 2.
Trump. I meant Biden.
I'll do my number 2 because I mean Joe Biden's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. I
got Gavin Newsom. Did we do the same number 2?
Not my number 2, but
listen, I did Gavin Newsom. I think. I don't know how long he'd make it. I don't think he's the best candidate, but I think he's a guy who he literally just survived a recall election, and I think he won by like a dramatic vote. I think he won by double digits already in the recall vote. Yet again, I don't know how fluffed that vote was, where like, you had everybody running. I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger won on a recall vote, so I mean, I don't really know the process of California's recall vote, how many candidates were running, how the vote was divided, what his number of votes was, but he did win. And I think Gavin Newsom is a guy who's probably gonna he goes beyond California, much like DeSantis does. He's been in the press a lot recently. A lot of mixed opinions about him. California as a state is a kind of weird state right now. You have massive homeless issues in LA to San Francisco. Like, there is no city that doesn't have severe housing crisis problems going on, severe mental health issues going on. You have a lot of money getting spent, and a lot of people are wondering if it's getting spent correctly. So he's definitely going to take a lot of hits, at least in the general election if he makes it that far. I don't know how he's going to make it in the primary and see how it goes there. I do also want to say, if Gavin Newsom runs and Kamala Harris runs and Joe Biden doesn't run, there is going to be a battle of who is the most California.
Oh,
And that
yes.
is something that I do think
Yes.
is going to be very unique, because I don't think Kamala worked for Gavin Newsom when she was the attorney general. But I think there's going to be a very big play that when people try to hit one or the other, they're just going to say, as I'm in power, or when I was in power, the state was better than when they were in power. And
Oof.
they're going to be the fall guy, I think, if they do it right. And if they're able to line their history up well, it'll be a sight to see the two of them going after each other about who made California worse.
Yeah, that would be interesting. My number 2, I feel like this person's probably also going to be on your list as well, because I think we're just on the same.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. Yeah,
the same level of projection. I think it's going to be Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
I do not have her. I do
Slay,
not. I do not
really?
know.
Oh gosh, okay.
I forgot she existed.
Really? No way.
I just forget that Michigan's a state a lot of the time.
Okay,
I'm a big Upper Peninsula fan. Okay,
this is the thing. She, I feel like, is the biggest success story for the Democrats.
Oh, that's a big statement.
I mean, it is a big statement. She turned Michigan blue.
Yeah.
Michigan is now entirely blue.
And a lot of people into insurrectionists.
Into the whole 3 branches of government. I think, like, she's been rising in Michigan since 2020. And I think that, like, I don't know. Honestly, I just think that she has so much pull right now. So I think that's just going to lead her. And she won double digits. And her rival was endorsed by Trump. So she's going to be that, like, story for, because, you know, the Dems are going to look for someone who can beat Trump. That's going to be their whole,
and
who can
she has
Trump.
A great story on how to do that. Your insurrectionists tried to take me out, and me and the FBI were 2 steps ahead of them, and we got them. And literally, I'm just imagining how that plays, where it's literally one political candidate saying to the other, "You tried to have me, like, kidnapped." I think, honestly, as I'm looking at it, the Democrats would, like, write their own ticket. Like, that would play so well in the news.
Yeah,
it would play great in the public sphere.
It would play great for independence. It would pull people into it. They're gonna see how much she's been able to transform Michigan, because Michigan was completely different before she was there, and then now to turn it into an entirely blue state. I think it's just, that's why I'm saying it's a Democrat success story.
I do think it is a very dangerous thing for her, though, because I don't know what state Flint is in right now, or Detroit. And I will be very honest with you. If Detroit and Flint are not better off than they were when she got into office, her campaign is virtually defunct when she gets out of the Midwest.
I feel like that will be I don't know, like a flaw to her campaign. It's going to be something that people are going to attack her on in the primaries. You're going to see, like, once they get onto, like, those debates, everyone's going to be attacking her. Well, what's going on with Flint? Well, what's going on with Detroit? What's going on there? How's that turning out, right? So that's going to be, like, a big thing that she's going to have to answer to. But I think that right now, out of all the Democrats, like, she's just been seeing great wins. And I honestly, I think that she would have a very strong pull. So if she could get Flint and Detroit to get some type of statistics out there about, like, doing better.
That'd be a good way to see if she's going to run, is if all of a sudden there's positive news coming out about Flint and Detroit.
That's true. Yeah, if you start seeing the news.
No, I haven't seen any positive information about Flint or Detroit, which is, I also haven't seen any negative. No negatives.
But there's also time. We're just in 2022, so there's time. Who's your third?
Pete Buttigieg.
Really?
Yeah.
He was not on my list at all.
I don't think he's going to last as long as the other ones, but I think if Joe Biden doesn't run, I think Pete Buttigieg is going to run. I think he's made a pretty good career out of going from, like, South Bend, Indiana mayor to now the director of the, the Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
Nothing's been done under his watch from what I can see.
That's what I feel like is going to be his biggest downfall, and why people like it.
But I think
the possibility of him running.
If Joe Biden isn't running and Kamala Harris is, I think Pete Buttigieg is going to get a lot of pokes to run for a number of reasons, right? Like, he's able to run when he's up there. It's not just Kamala taking the hits; it's Pete taking the hits too. Yeah. So, because they're working under the same administration, anything that she says is good for him, and anything that someone says is bad about them is bad for both of them.
Yeah.
So it kind of divides the issue of who's getting, beaten up there.
But I feel like we've had so many transportation issues within the last, like, 2 years, and I feel like it's just going to all come down to him.
If Kamala's up there, she's going to push it off to him, which is going to make her look a little bad. I think it could if especially if she makes it to
everyone's
the
gonna pull it
general.
on him. People are gonna pull on him because even today, like when the media covers like
it's
transportation, it's like well, Pete Buttigieg. So
I don't know. I think
and this is coming from someone that supported it.
Yeah, I think the run that he had, I think it was too good a momentum for him not to try again.
Yeah.
And even if he doesn't run this time, there's a very good chance that wherever he ends up, he will end up running again in what would be like, 2028.
2028.
So I think
he's young.
Yeah, Pete Buttigieg, he's like 36.
Yeah, no. If he ran last time.
Oh yeah, well he's like barely 40 now or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know.
But
he's not old by any means. I mean, Donald Trump's 80, Joe Biden's 80. Like, it's not that bad. Who do you got for your number 3? Hopefully someone a little bit more enthusiastic than Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, you're going to love it. Marianne Williamson. So Marianne Williamson, she ran last time. I know I'm probably going to say this name. People are going to be like, who?
Yeah.
She ran last time. She basically didn't really have much of a platform. Every time that they like introduced her as an author. It was like, yeah, here's an author. And it was like, oh, all these people, this is a mayor, this is the former vice president, and here's this author that's coming up to the stage to talk to us. And I feel like the only reason why I feel like she's going to run now is because she has gained somewhat of a platform. There are independent journalists that refer to her a lot that almost essentially like are trying to get her to run, and a lot of people talk about how her almost independent and moderate view on things, but also liberal and progressive, right? It's like she has like this type of politics and like insight where she's a spiritual leader and a political activist. I feel like the spiritual leader, I went on her website earlier and like it was like she teaches classes, right? It's like these exercises. I don't really know what type of exercises
she's teaching yoga and the Bible. I'm
not sure, but I think it's I don't know, but I'm just saying I think it's interesting, and I
something think, sounds a little off.
The possibility of her winning, I don't know how much that is, but I think she has gained a lot of traction with independent journalists. So I think that might be a reason to push her to continue to run again, especially because last time she didn't have that type of traction. She was just known as the author.
And how far was she a holdout? I don't think she was that big of a holdout.
I think she dropped right after Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Iowa or New Hampshire that she fully like left, and then she endorsed Bernie.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think either of us, maybe I'm jumping the gun here because I know we have another one to go after this, or a few more to go after this.
2 more.
I don't think Bernie is running this time.
I don't think he is either.
Yeah.
But who's
my number 4?
3.
3?
Oh, 4. Sorry,
4?
You were, yeah.
My number 4 is Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey. Yeah. Cory Booker was really into it last time. I think he kind of got pinned as not really being a very human candidate. I think he's gonna run. I think he's gonna run as the somewhat anti-establishment senator. I think he's gonna run like he did last time off of, I'm helping people of New Jersey. He was a mayor at one point. He's a senator now for New Jersey. I think he plays well in the Northeast. I think he has some stuff to offer, but I also think much like the reason why I think Pete Buttigieg is going to run is just Cory Booker's not ready to throw in the towel yet on a presidential bid, and he's got the look. He got a presidential look right now. I think he's a good opportunity for it. I think he's going to probably run, and that's also once again predicated on if Joe Biden doesn't run. If Joe Biden doesn't run, I don't think Cory Booker runs. I don't think many of these people run because they're not going to put the risk up.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
I'm almost jealous I didn't put that on my list.
Who do you have for your number 4?
My number 4 was Gavin Newsom.
Oh boy.
Which we already discussed. But I will say, like, just something that you didn't talk on is his massive presence in the media. He is, I feel like, always in the media. And I think especially now, him being in the media as much as he is, I think it's almost like he's trying to have people not forget his name and trying to constantly stay on everyone's mind so that when his name and if his name is on the ballot, it's easier for people to be like, oh, I've seen this multiple times. Let me just go there. Yeah. His whole and he's passing legislation in California that will kind of I feel like get to a lot of progressives and people that are going, and when you see like primaries and stuff, the people that come out to primaries are the progressive people.
Yeah.
So that's why you have the extremists running against each other, because it's the progressive, it's the extremists that choose. So yeah. So then at his electric car thing after, what is it, 2035?
Yeah, I mean,
like that.
but then maybe if that's the whole reason, maybe Kathy Hochul makes a run. Which
Maybe, but
I don't think
I don't think so. But there's that. The other thing, he bought billboards in Mississippi, Texas, Oklahoma, and Indiana.
Oh yeah, he's
that
running.
say, hey, abortion is still legal in California thanks to Governor Newsom. So this is what I'm saying, where it's like him doing that.
Yeah.
What are you buying a billboard? You're a governor and you're buying a billboard.
That's an 8 to 12 hour ride from Mississippi, I think, to California. Like
8 to 12? I feel like it's even more.
Yeah, that's
like you're pushing 14, 15. And
and once you get there, you can't really get gas because it's $8 a gallon.
Yeah, so just walk.
Yeah, just walk. Yeah, walking is healthy.
Bike, But yeah, no, I definitely think like he's 100% gonna, I feel like, put in.
I think I totally agree with you, and I just want to move on to my number 5.
Yeah.
I think Elizabeth Warren is going to make another run.
I agree.
I think no matter what happens this run, I think we're going to see a lot of women on the podium and really on stage for both parties. I wouldn't be surprised if, other women in the Republican Party get going.
Yeah.
I would love to see other women in the Democratic Party like Tammy Duckworth make a go of it again. I don't even think she ever ran, to be honest with you. I know she's a senator.
I don't think so.
I think there's going to be a lot of female candidates out there, and I think Elizabeth Warren is the most prominent right after Nancy Pelosi, and Nancy Pelosi's not running for anything really. So I think we're going to see Elizabeth Warren make a run of it, and I think she's going to kind of present, like, I think she's going to take more of a Bernie stance on this, because I don't think Bernie's going to run. She's from Massachusetts, so she's a fellow New Englander anyway. I think we're going to see some play on her, especially going out and pushing this very democratic socialist agenda that she doesn't necessarily have in such an extreme view as Bernie does, but I think is definitely going to be something that she's going to pick up and run with.
To go along with that, I feel like the biggest downfall to both Bernie and Warren was the fact that they were both running against each other. And I think they split those people that would potentially vote for the both of them amongst the two of them. And that's how.
Although I do think there was more people who were willing to vote for Bernie than
that's very true. And I feel
think
like
he was the much better candidate for a lot of people.
And then in this case, I feel like she would be able to get those voters that aren't, because if Bernie doesn't run again, this is if he doesn't run again, but we both feel like he won't. So if this were to happen, like, she could potentially aim for those voters and do some good there, I guess.
So who's your 5?
My 5. This was my crazy, because I thought we were just doing 5 and 5. So I put my crazy into it.
Oh boy.
And I think you know where I'm going to go with this. I think Liz Cheney is going to run Democrat for president.
I don't think she's even going to get the money to run a campaign.
And this is why I think so. Because she has been she's been one of the only Republicans that has consistently been against Trump since January 6th, consistently. And to go from someone who was a fan of Trump and his politics to someone overnight, absolutely not, this doesn't go, this isn't the Republican Party that I know, and then to be completely exiled by the Republican Party. And on top of that, this is why I think she's going to run Democrat, because she was asking Democrats for help. She was saying, hey, I think her state was open primary, so it was like, hey, she got primaried, right? But she was like, hey, come and vote for me, because XYZ, I'm gonna need the help. And so I feel like it wouldn't be so far-fetched to see. I get it, this is a crazy idea, but I don't
from Wyoming sounds very much unheard of.
It does sound unheard of, but I think it would be, I don't know. I just feel like, especially like what she has done with the January 6th committee, the name that she had made for herself, and just the way that she was able to I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if it were to happen, but I also feel like the chance of it happening very slim.
Very slim. It's
However,
it's
the crazy thing.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see, but I don't know. That was just my crazy one. I feel like it just made things more fun.
I like the way that you're going. I don't necessarily like the idea of Liz Cheney running as a Democrat. I think that that would
no
be.
one said we had to endorse any
that
of
would
these
be
candidates.
that'd be a very big upset in the Democratic Party. I'm not sure how that'd play. I do want to throw out, now that we've gone through our top 10 choices, 5 Democrat, 5 Republican, my far-fetched / unconventional ones.
Yes.
I'm going to start with the Republicans. I'm just going to go down in order real quick. Sure. I got Mike Pence because I don't think he's ready to run yet. I have Dan Crenshaw, the congressman from Texas. He released a book recently. He's been doing a lot of tours to the border, which I think he's going to point as a primary issue. That's another person who I don't think is really in the running for president, but really in the running for a VP spot. Mm-hmm. Just especially, or at least a potential gubernatorial run. Josh Hawley, he's been in the news a lot. Big in the Senate, I think, and just a really impactful character. Every time you see it's always Josh Hawley, and I know JD Vance is in the media a lot recently.
Yeah, I don't think JD Vance would run though.
I don't think he's going to run either. You want to talk about a guy who has a book released and a movie released? JD Vance, right there, big character.
Big character.
So you got Josh Hawley. I got Mitch McConnell as kind of like a crazy out there thing.
That's crazy, and that is out there.
I don't think he's gonna run, but I think he would definitely run just to make just to make it difficult for Donald Trump, because we both know they're not very friendly anymore, if they were to begin with. And now this one is not the most far-fetched, and I do think it is a little bit realistic, but they'll probably make a run for governor or Senate. Caitlyn Jenner.
Oh, didn't she already announce that she would
run? For I don't know.
Don't quote me on that, but I'm like, don't quote me on that. But I think she did. I think
she might have announced at some point that she wanted to run for president. I think she's got to run as a Republican.
Caitlyn Jenner versus Kanye.
Oh, don't even.
Because Kanye did announce. So technically, so the Republicans that are running currently are Trump and Kanye.
Is Kanye a Republican now? Oh boy. If we did Caitlyn Jenner, then it would honestly match up really well against my far-fetched ones for the Democrat Party. But yeah, I think Caitlyn Jenner is going to run. She's been very vocal, very openly political. It's going to play. It's going to be an interesting couple of months when she's running, especially in the primary, and
that's also California. California is going to be, well, technically no, because that's Republican, Democrat, but yeah,
I don't know. It could be interesting to watch. And then my far-fetched ideas for the Democrats: 1, I got Bernie Sanders. I don't think he's going to run, but there's a chance. 2, LeBron James. I know it sounds crazy. The guy's basketball career is probably going to be coming to an end soon.
I don't think so on this one. Maybe the next one, because he's waiting to play with his son. His son, he wants to play a season with his son. This is just the basketball fact that I know. Your basketball fact of the day. He wants to play one season with his son, and his son would just need. I think he's getting close now, so probably not this election. Maybe the next one.
Yeah, I don't know. LeBron James has been incredibly active in politics, especially on social media. He's developed a massive presence as a political activist, as crazy as it sounds. And as strange as it is to say that, but I think LeBron James is definitely a potential pick. Tom Hanks, he's a massive. I don't mean this in a crazy sense.
Crazy.
No. But hear me out, because I've been doing some research. Tom Hanks regularly vacations with the Obamas and Joe Biden. Oh. Tom Hanks is very active in Democratic politics and is a regular big time donator, from what I've found. And I think because Tom Hanks is I think he has like a goal and objective as a movie star to act as every single possible character that he can. I think he's definitely going to try. I would not be surprised if he makes a congressional run in the future. Definitely try to make a Congress run. That would not surprise me either. Oprah. I got Oprah on the list.
Yeah, that's a good one.
There's been a lot of people who've been saying Oprah's got to run. I think Oprah could run. I don't necessarily believe that she'll run. I think she's probably enjoying retirement, or at least I hope she is. If whatever she's doing is retirement, I'm sure it's much less work, or I hope it's much less work than her previous job, which was probably a lot of work. Yeah. And then this one is because I just think she's going to run for governor of California. Kim Kardashian.
I was going to say that. I was waiting.
I got Kim Kardashian running, and I think she's probably going to run for governor once
she's
Gavin
a lawyer.
Newsom.
Go her, businesswoman, lawyer.
I don't know. I haven't.
I don't believe it. I don't really.
There's something strange going on. She passed the bar.
She passed her baby bar.
Okay, her baby bar.
or bar. I don't know.
Did she pass the LSAT? Did she take the LSAT?
I don't know, but I know she passed some bar.
I'm not keeping up with the Kardashians anymore.
That's no longer a show. It's just the Kardashians now.
Whatever. On their network. Yeah.
It's on Hulu now.
Sure.
So, but yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Also, it'd be really funny to see Kanye West versus Kim Kardashian as our two picks. That is just proof that we need a third party.
Stop.
That would be hilarious.
What if that does happen? Like the Democrat candidate and the Republican candidate. Oh, and I think Trump and Kanye were having dinner together, and I think Kanye asked Trump if he would be willing to run as his VP.
That is hilarious.
Yeah. Or it was the other way around. I don't know who asked who.
It was probably the other way
around. But imagine like as Kanye as a VP, or even Trump as a VP. Imagine that.
That's dangerous. I'm not going to make any comments on air about that one. In case that they do win. Lastly, my third party options. I only have two. I have Tulsi Gabbard, who has now rescinded her membership in the Democratic Party. Multiple term congresswoman from the state of Hawaii, a U.S. Army colonel or lieutenant colonel, especially in the reserves, very active, one of the most prominent females to run. She absolutely grilled Kamala, and she brought out a lot of these issues that people were not really bringing out to start off with. Very, very big name, very active too in the kind of like neutral news and neutral media. She has a lot of publicity coming out. I mean, she goes on Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. That's right off the bat more views than she would get on any commercial television or TV debut. She has her own podcast, which is probably bringing in more than CNN is at the same time, so.
Hey, listen, the cable news makes money.
Sure. It's a good way. And then my last is Jesse Ventura. He was the governor of Minnesota for a term. He was one of the only successful third-party candidates to ever run and win. Very public. He has not thrown out the idea of running for president. He was part of a write-in campaign back in 2020, although he said that he could not do it anymore due to health reasons because he had to take care of his health. I think it's probably more likely that Tulsi runs as a third party, even though she says that the third party can't win in the United States. She went on record saying that it's impossible for a third party to win in the United States. But I wouldn't be surprised if either of these people make a showing or are definitely a little bit more public as the time goes on, and definitely try to make a stink, even at least, so that way in 2028 they have a chance if they want to.
Yeah.
Listen, Kim versus Kanye. Presidential election.
That should have been the
Ron DeSantis as Kanye's VP and Gavin Newsom as Kim Kardashian's VP. Let's see it happen.
Honestly, I think Bernie would be Kim's VP.
Oh boy, that would just be. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to think about how crazy that would be.
I think our list was so good.
It was a good list. We had a lot of common things.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys
next week. Have a good one. Kim Kardashian 2020.